What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Billions Season 4 episode, where tonight we are talking about mobile voting revenge, the fracking plot, and the fight of the season. You don't want to miss out. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ooh, I like this new intro we got going.
Nice.
Oh, this can make us dance on Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Engineer. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the Billions Season 4 After Show, where we are reviewing Episode 8 tonight. Can you believe that? The season is just zipping on by. I am your host, Nadine and Della, Pelle, and with me is the lovely, the beautiful Miss
ReGina goes.
There you go.
Hey, everybody. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. So what is your initial thought of this episode?
Well, my initial thought is what I predicted last week, that Taylor was going to have it out for Wendy. I wasn't thinking so much about her revenge for Axe because we know that's been an ongoing thing.
For sure.
But after Wendy was such a cold, calculating, we don't want to go any further with that. But Taylor said she was going to be cold and vindictive too, which is what McPhee told her. He had never seen her like that, but she definitely went after Wendy.
Yeah, and I think what's happening is we've always seen as like Chuck and Bobby as being these two cold men that are kind of doing whatever for this revenge plot. But now, you know, there's Taylor added into that mix. There's Wendy added into that mix. Some of Taylor's people to protect Taylor are doing that. Some of people on X-Cap to protect those people. Now other people are now getting involved in all of this. And it's becoming a little crazy, and it's getting a little brutal. And I wonder when like the explosion is going to be, when maybe it can all kind of die down a little bit. But I just don't like seeing our characters kind of be like this. I don't know. There's not that much love left anymore on any side, in any sense.
Going after each other, and it's like every time they're like up in the game trying to outdo revenge, whatever it is.
Revenge is the biggest word for this entire season. But we had a lot of fun storylines happen tonight. We were talking earlier about how there wasn't anything too crazy that's happened. I think this was more of it was a setup, but it was also an understanding of where kind of Taylor's at in relation to Bobby when it comes to this revenge as well. Taylor a little bit sometimes has one step ahead of Bobby, which we never see happen with him. He's always the person who's one step ahead. So I thought that was interesting. We talk about mobile voting and that whole thing that's happening with Jock and Chuck and Brian. We have the fracking plot, and we have the funny fight which happened with Mr. Maffei and Mr. Dollar Bill. So we will dive deep into all of that. Everyone, I have the chat up, so if you are watching this live right now, please chat in there. Let us know what your thoughts were, and keep talking with us throughout this entire review. Okay, so let's first talk about the whole fracking and refineries issue that is happening and going on. So kind of the behind story is that fracking has been banned, but the refining of natural gas products that have been fracked elsewhere was still legal in New York. So that's just a little backstory, because I had to research. I was like, wait, what's happening? What's happening with all this fracking stuff? So basically there was a bill on the table, and it could either go in the positive for Bobby, which would help him because he has a lot of money invested in these refineries. So he needs fracking to become legal. And what we thought was that it was actually going to harm Taylor, because Taylor decides to go on the halftime report, which made like a massive showing tonight.
And she pulled real demand.
Taylor like put that bait out there. And a couple of things that Taylor said was that, you know, fossil fuels are dead. So is their time at Axe-Cap. One big hit. Taylor says Axe-Cap is running itself into the ground and said they had to get out of there before it was too late. Second big hit. Third, and I think one of the craziest one was they called Bobby a dinosaur. Man, so what is your initial reaction to that revenge plot and play there? Like doing this publicly now. Like it has a little bit been public, but this was a major public smash.
She is so clever.
They remember.
They please forgive me. I think you guys are. So they are so clever. Oh my gosh. She just went right after Bobby, reeled him in with that, and then in the end revealed that, hey, you're going to make me even richer because I own the rights to the water.
Oh, yeah. So we'll get into that. So
Yeah,
that's what the end was there.
Yeah.
But no, it was just like those 3 hits were what they knew had to happen to get Bobby kind of hooked on. Because those are fighting words, man. You don't want to say
he
that
was, like,
to everyone.
beside himself.
Calling someone a dinosaur in that industry too, and that
was
like
an insult.
I had to get away. It's kind of crazy. And so basically the street and the government, everyone's split. So the whole thing comes down, what we see later is up to the governor and who the governor is going to side with. Bobby couldn't even watch the rest of the interview, turned it off, and then all of a sudden we see everyone trying to plot, okay, what do we do? Wags is like, you got to cut the snake's head off.
Right.
You got to like just completely go crazy, defeat it. And so everyone goes into panic mode. Wags goes to try and work with lobbyists to do legislation through political channels. And then they say, Victor, go do this and figure out how to move them in your own way. What does that mean? Is that because Victor has sly ways of doing business?
Well, of course. I mean, that's how he wound up back at Axe Cap, being slick.
Yeah.
You know. But
and not being good at it.
no,
That's why he ended up back in X
But of course, we know after doing all of that, Bobby picked up the phone, and who does he call to get it done? So there we go again with going back to what we said in the beginning with this allegiance between Bobby and Chuck. The favors are going to keep coming and coming and coming.
Oh yeah, for sure. So Taylor's team basically calls her out after the whole incident and stuff. It's like calls her out, like, wait, or calls them out. Like, what are you doing? You're jumping onto one side of the issue without proper intel. Like, are you not telling us something? Where is this all coming from? And it was basically just to make Axe scramble and to just scare the absolute hell out of him, which it did do, and it did work. And we see during that meeting as well that Maffei basically says, hey, like, you're being really cold right now. Like, I've never seen this side of you. And vindictive. And their whole team is just like, hey, what's going on? This is kind of a new you. To the point where Sarah has to kick everyone out in order to have this convo with Taylor being like, hey, we are we good in a sense? And Taylor shockingly was like, yeah, don't do any revengeful thing. Like, don't worry, don't do that yet.
Yeah.
And Sarah, obviously, we'll talk about that later, has already something planned to help Taylor out. But why do we think Taylor initially was like, no, don't do anything. Don't do anything about it yet?
Well, she wanted to keep all hands on deck, like she said, with this fracking thing. But Taylor's whole motivation now for really upping the revenge is... she is really hurting on the inside about her dad and her being taken advantage of through such a personal and private revelations about her childhood and her family, and everything with that dynamic with her dad's failure, and of course Wendy played her to the note with that one, and it really hurt Taylor because she thought for once she was gonna have that family dynamic that she had missed out on all these years, or they had missed out on all these years.
Yeah, it was something that they were
And that's
craving, and
just
obviously
really hurt her.
But that's why I was surprised that Taylor was like, hey, why, like, not to do anything right away, that told Sarah not to do it. That's why I was shocked. I was like, maybe I thought that they would have wanted to go for that quicker than they did. So now it's Bobby's turn. Bobby calls the halftime reporters like, yo, get me on. Like, I need to share my side of the story. And so Bobby's big things about Taylor now was getting into the bed with the Russians, how they did their dad dirty, flipped his company for profit, and that Taylor is someone you cannot trust, and that those are even worse fighting words, to the point where Taylor called in. Were you freaked out when Taylor called in? Like, I thought this was the fun. I was like, how many fights are we gonna have this episode? Because those are fighting words.
Now, do you think when she called in that was Sarah prompting her to do that?
No, I think Taylor,
Or
you could sense that Taylor was just like, hey, I got to nip this in the bud.
Wanted to lure him in even more.
Yeah,
Up
and
the
they
game, like,
and they duked it out on the phone pretty good, and it really riled up Bobby. And it's kind of crazy because you don't see a lot of people know Bobby and know how to get to him that
She
well,
knows.
and Taylor knows how to push his buttons.
Yes.
It seems more than anyone. Why do you think it is? Do you think it's because they're so similar in a sense?
Similar, but she also said, remember, that she had a bit of nostalgia because she was once his protege. And being the smart cookie that Taylor is, she took every bit of being his protege to heart, and she learned everything that she could possibly learn about Bobby inside out. Because remember, she's always said that she studies people, just like when she busted Wendy last week, telling her that lie. Nope. You're lying. I study people so I can know where they're coming from if they're telling me the truth. So she knows Bobby inside out. But then you bring up a great point too, Nadine. They are so much alike when it comes to business.
Oh, for
When
sure.
it comes to business, they're
They're
so much
both
alike.
sly and they know how to get it, but Taylor just knows his personality and
Yes.
Taylor knows how to get under his skin. So I think this is gonna be a larger thing of like Bobby really needs to step up, get on his game because Taylor knows him inside and out. So we see that everyone says the vote, like we said, is going to come down to the governor. And so who does, like you mentioned before, who does Bobby call to help with this? Calls Chuck. And so my question is, how much, when are the favors going to end? Are they going to end? This time around, it seemed Chuck was more than happy to help Bobby with this. We didn't really see any hesitation.
Right.
We just saw the plan come together where they ambushed the governor at Bobby's house.
Well, I think he was happy to help him because he knew he had the governor wrapped around his finger. So,
But sometimes now, though, Chuck's using those favors that from the governor that could help him with other things. He's
Yeah.
using it for Bobby now. So I wonder when all of that is going to kind of halt. But I also love that Chuck and Bobby work together and are friends like
but
that.
you know what they say, nothing lasts forever. And I think that it's whatever it is that really tears them apart or makes one of Chuck, I think, especially say, no more favors. Look, I've done enough for you. And Bobby is like, are you kidding me? I put you in office. You have not done half the things I want you to do. This is something that's going to go on and on and on and on
Yeah.
until I think there is something that comes between them that's going to be so criminal.
Yeah.
And it threatens Chuck's position as Attorney General.
Yeah, there may
he
be
is gonna
some big thing that's
step
going to stop
back.
it.
Yeah.
Michael Let in the Michael Let in the chat says no, she did it very calculating. I think you're right. Yeah, it was calculated because Taylor knows Bobby so well.
Yeah.
That's where the calculation came in. You can't be so calculated about something that you don't know your subject. So Taylor knew their subject of Bobby very, very
Yeah.
well. And we find out that the lot of B34750942D. Yes, I wrote it down, everyone.
Senior.
For $860,000
Oh,
was
yeah.
the land
Okay.
was the land number that Taylor bought, and we see it play out when fracking is actually passed. And we're at that moment at the arena. Bobby was thinking that Taylor's whole team
That he
was
had
going
one
to
up
freak
on her.
out. And then they start smiling and cheering. And we come to find out, obviously, that Axe got played, that this is actually going to benefit Taylor even more because they bought the water rights
Yes.
for the fracking.
And like she said, you can't frack unless you have one thing. And what is that one thing? The water. And she toyed with them even more by saying, well, it was a low bid. We barely got in, but you know, I'm going to make more money than you.
Yeah, it was kind of incredible. Did you see it coming? I didn't see it coming.
No,
Did anyone
no.
watching right now in chat, please let me know. Do you guys see that one coming? Because it was very it was interesting how it happened, and I think you saw on Bobby's face how impressed he was. That's what I took away from it. It was just like as much anger as
But
he had.
irritated.
You could of course, but
Yeah.
he was also impressed. You just saw the got, like you did good. You did
Kind
good,
of
kid.
a little smirk and a grin. You
Like I
know.
taught you well, basically.
Like, he did
is
tell her
what it
that
is, yeah.
something to that effect, that he pretty much taught her well, and she replied like, okay, well, I'll take the compliment if you want to take credit for what I did or whatever, you know.
Yep, completely. So that was just a whole whirlwind of an event that happened,
Yeah.
completely played to Bobby's character. So while Taylor was playing Axe, we see that Sarah was beginning to play Wendy. So let's talk about Wendy this whole episode. Wendy has a new friend, Bonnie, and
Bonnie.
What do you think about that friendship? By the way, they go on the jog. Bonnie tries to get her to open up, and Wendy kind of does, kind of doesn't. Is like, I can't. I'm gonna break if I don't.
I don't take Bonnie that serious as far as, well, she did tell Wendy, you must not have a lot of girlfriends, do you? Mm-hmm. So the one thing I will say with Bonnie, I don't know how committed she'll be to being Wendy's friend, but if she is Wendy's friend and really becomes her friend, then she's going to demand loyalty from Wendy, that Wendy be all into the friendship. Instead of, like Wendy said, she doesn't really keep up with her girlfriends, that kind of thing.
Well, I think they both don't keep up with girlfriends. I think that was the thing that they connect on. That's the common thread, is that they're more guy friends. They're like more guys, girls. And so I kind of like it. And we see at the fight when Wendy's just overwhelmed, wants to leave, immediately Bonnie's like, I'll go with you. Even though how excited Bonnie was to go and see Dollar Bill fight and stuff, was still like, no, I got your back. I'm going to leave with you. So I like the friendship. I think it's good for them. I think two strong women, they need to be just kind of there in each other's lives. Yeah. And I love how open Bonnie is. As much as her character is like a little frustrating, I kind of do like it. Because Michael says like, Bonnie's becoming Wendy's new performance coach, which is very true.
Everybody needs one.
Every therapist needs a therapist.
You heard what she told her, like, how do you get out of bed in the morning? And she was like, well, I'm not together, and I'm pretty much, it doesn't take much for me to fall apart at this moment. And she's like, come on, let's get back to running, that kind of thing. So
completely. Yeah. So we'll see where that dive jumps into and happens later on in the season. So Taylor is very, what did I have in my notes here? Sorry, guys, a little confused. We already chatted about that part with Taylor. So Wendy is having a meeting with this guy who she thinks the guy's going to want her to speak at this event. Come to find out that Sarah at the meeting with Taylor decided to go behind Taylor's back and actually report Wendy to the board to try and get Wendy's license ripped away, which is that's crazy. That's deep to like get your entire career literally ripped from you in a moment like that, and I think it's because we do love Wendy so much, and like that's a massive hit, but also the stuff that Wendy did kind of deserves that to happen. So we'll dive into that real quick. But basically, eventually she'll have to appear in front of the board for a hearing, and they'll decide whether or not they are going to revoke the license. And so when she goes and talks with Bobby about this immediately, she says that if she was on the board, she would strip her and skin her because she wasn't on the sidelines. She drew up the play, called her own number, and ran it herself. Right. Clearly, she has guilt for what has happened. Clearly, she's been thinking about it a lot. Right. Do we think Axe would ever allow this to actually happen? Like with Axe and Chuck on her side in her corner?
Oh, of course not. You know, they can cook up some scheme to buy whoever they need to buy.
Exactly.
But the key to doing that is, will it be okay with Wendy? Will Wendy be able to live with that? To know that they stepped in and they
to protect
became her crusaders to protect her license to practice. And we know that Wendy is a proud woman, and she's taken a lot of pride in her practice and her skills, and she did stoop to an all-time low this season with Taylor, going after Taylor like she did.
Low.
And so that guilt was coming from her, saying, yeah, well, if it were me, I would strip me of this, that, and the other. But I think at the end of the day, that's not going to happen.
That Wendy's not going to get that prediction? Wendy's not going to get stripped.
It's not going to happen. She's got two powerful men in New York that are not in any way, shape, or form going to stand by and let that happen to her.
I wonder if it's going to be that Wendy's guilt just builds up so much that Wendy, do you think it would ever, I don't know, actually this is a bad prediction because now I don't know if I agree with it, but do we think, I don't know, I'm going to ask this open-ended question, do we think that Wendy's guilt will cause her to just be like, I shouldn't practice anymore? Or do we think Wendy will just never even think that? Like, yeah, I messed up, but I don't deserve this.
I think the latter.
The latter?
I messed up.
But I don't deserve my whole world to crash.
Well, it's crashed enough. But I think now maybe she's going to get back to focusing on the core of the soul of Wendy, the real Wendy Rhoades. And she's going to realize that, gosh, everything that's happened is not worth me losing a profession that I worked so hard to create, and a brand and people who I helped along the way and admired me, and all the success that I've had being a therapist. It's not worth me throwing it all away for this. So I'm hoping that she really rediscovers her inner self, her inner power, and pushes through everything that Chuck has done to her, and also realizes that she can't go down that slippery slope and get her hands as dirty as Chuck and Bobby do.
Yeah, maybe
Let the
change a little bit.
guys do the dirt if they must, and you stick to doing what you do, Wendy, helping people. That makes you feel gratified inside.
And I think that was the thing with her whole line of like, I wasn't on the sidelines like I normally am, basically, and watching you guys have your revenge
but it's
play
dirt.
out. And this time it was because of how messed up she was in her head. And
Yeah.
you're right, she needs to get back to that that old Wendy that we've talking about that's kind of
The
left.
voice of reason
And,
and-
yeah. And Wendy even meets with Stephen Birch to do a meeting, and Stephen wants nothing to do with her, doesn't even give her a hug, doesn't even want to be seen near her. Says basically that if he is in contact with her, it'll make him seem more as sketchy as she is. And she's super taken back by that. And I think that we're able to see like how much more of an impact this whole thing is having, that and how real it is, because her actions with Taylor have now caused her to lose a client on another end. It's just all this domino effect that needs to get figured out and resolved pretty quickly. Sarah's getting jealous. Did you see the look she gave the PR lady? Michael, yes, I did see that later after the interview when they high-fived.
Lauren.
Because Taylor gave props to the PR woman,
Lauren.
not to Sarah, really.
Right.
And
I think her name was Lauren.
yeah, and Sarah's face was just like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
there may be a little bit of shakiness in Taylor's
Some
camp.
jealousy, a threat.
At some point,
Yeah.
something is going to happen with that. And I wonder if it is something we've been talking about. Is there something romantic happening between Sarah and Taylor, or are they just
It
close?
might be
So is that
Taylor
what that
and Lauren now.
Yeah, or is that a jealousy thing happening? I don't know. But let's talk about one of my favorite parts of the night, the fight between Dollar Bill and Mr. Muffy. I loved the start of this episode with Wags and Sarah just kind of like going at it with like what the terms are and what it will be, and they're just trying to
Side
play
bets.
it so real. Yeah, having 50 grand each side bet. And then Dollar Bill gets woken up in the middle of the night, like super movie funny
Like,
film
how
style.
Did they get in his house?
Come on, it's Bobby. Bobby will figure out a way. So it's Bobby, Wags, and this massive personal trainer, and the wife is like, who are these people? What's happening? I would have freaked out. They were so calm waking up. I would have screamed so loudly. So we see both sides of everyone prepping. We see Dollar Bill has this trainer with Bobby and Wags, and they're driving on the side of the road with him. And then we see on the other end, we see Muffy in a different way of training, and his way of training is the funniest thing that's happened. Let me get rid of all my weed.
Yeah.
Let me get rid of all my smoking
My bongs and
paraphernalia, my
everything
bongs.
else.
You can have it all. Or maybe I'll just keep this joint, though. Maybe
Yeah,
if
right.
I just keep this
I might
one little
need
joint.
this, Yeah.
So going into the fight, who did you think was going to win? What side did you think was going to win?
You know, of course you would look at McVie and say he's the younger guy, stronger, everything that Bonnie was saying, stronger legs and,
yeah, right? Trying to
But
help him.
when you look at the two, they're really not physical type of men. So McPhee has such a feminine side to him, in the sense that he's very vulnerable and sensitive towards women, I think. And I think that's one of the reasons why he connected with Wendy and also connected with Taylor. He's a guy I think that you would want to have around.
So you didn't think he was going to win. So you thought Dollar Bill was going to win the fight?
Dollar Bill, no. His fight is like
Who were you
on the
rooting
computer.
for? Who did you think was going to take it?
Neither one of them. I thought something was going to happen that would disqualify both of them. I didn't think any side was going to win with that.
I thought going into it, Maffei was going to win because I wanted Dollar Bill to win, but I thought Maffei was going to win because it's another blow to Axe Cap. Because if there was that big of a blow to Taylor's company, I don't think Taylor could really. I didn't want to see another blow to them. I don't know if they could really come back from that. But I thought Maffei was going to win. Who did you guys think was going to win initially when you first saw everything happening? But I wanted Dollar Bill. I don't know why. I just
training.
I wanted Dollar Bill to win. And
Training.
Oh, yeah. It was hilarious this episode when the sparring between Bonnie and Dollar Bill and Bonnie just goes in and beats the hell out of him was one of the funniest things ever. And that's why I love her character because she's just that badass girl hanging out with the dudes that can brawl it out.
And I thought seeing both of them go through training, I'm like, kind of wimpy.
Yeah, super wimpy. I think it was just, I love the way that they portrayed it because you're right. The way you described both of them, they're just not fighters. They're kind of, they're not something they aren't. You know what I mean? I don't know, that line didn't make sense, but it's trying to put, they're not these two strong guys that should do well in boxing.
No.
This is exactly how they would have performed. And that's what you would have expected from both of them. Like a weed smoker and a guy who never works out. Like, that's probably just going to happen when you do physical exercise.
And Dollar Bill is he's got more bark than bite. Mm-hmm. You know, he's this ferocious, mouth off all the time kind of guy, getting in the face. But when it comes time to throwing the punches, no.
Nope, yeah. And we saw even like them in the ring, like they were doing like sneaky stuff, like stepping on each other's feet and like just doing little jabs that are just illegal. And even the refs are like, hey, wait, this is illegal. This shouldn't be happening. What's going on here? And everyone was just so like, just grossed out by it all. They're just like, what's happening right now? They're so like, there's a lot of money and pride on the line. And these guys are just, they tried their best. Maffei's vomiting in a bucket. And Dollar Bill looks like he's going to have a heart attack. They tried, but I was kind of happy that it went out in a draw. And so my question to you is what's the deeper meaning of the fight? You know, because there has to be. Because does it mean like there's no true winner yet in this massive feud? Is that what it's trying to show? Meaning?
Yeah.
I got you, girl.
Thank you. Is spilling out into everyone, this whole intense battle.
But because it was a draw,
companies. Oh, because it was a draw.
Yeah, what's that? Is there a deeper meaning? Because there wasn't actually a winner, Axe or Taylor.
That they never should have started in the first place. But really, you know, it was senseless to do it. But at least for charity's sake, some money was made, but
I think it was fun that they did it. I think the whole thing with the draw is just that's where they're at right now. That it's still a stalemate between who is actually winning this war of revenge that we think is going to come towards the end. And I think when they bring these two people who are supposed to be the ones to represent the company together, you thought that someone was going to actually win and be victor,
and it would not make a difference. It would be on to the next.
I thought that it was going to get a little crazier. I thought for whatever reason going into the fight, I was like, maybe something's gonna happen where Bobby gets in the ring and wags, and then Taylor's in there, and it's this whole brawl between both teams, and the refs separate it. It was gonna be that big, but how wimpy it was kind of perfect. It was better than all that because everyone was just like, wah, wah, what?
But you know, let me ask you. I think with all of this going on with the fighting in the ring and everything in the draw, we know that Bobby now is really going even higher, harder.
Oh, the stakes are higher for him. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm wondering, towards the end of the season, will they throw us into a frenzy with someone getting knocked off?
Like murdered?
What? Yeah.
Oh, we're talking big predictions here. ReGina, you're throwing big predictions.
They're getting so intense with this. How far do you go to satisfy your
I mean, I don't
anger
know.
or your hatred for this person?
It doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. I will say that. I don't know who it would be. I don't even have a prediction on that. But maybe it is a death is what ends a fight. You know, sometimes it takes extremes like that to end something so crazy. It could be that. I don't know. But at the other part of the fight, what was going on was we see that Chuck initially sees Taylor and it completely ignores Taylor. We see Chuck out with Rebecca holding hands, so everyone is now aware that Chuck's holding hands. We see that Wendy comes and confronts Taylor and Sarah and was like, what the heck, dude? Like, what happened? And then we see Bonnie backing up Wendy. So all these crazy things happen. And then obviously we see the inevitable Bobby and Taylor confrontation and talk and what we had previously talked about the whole fracking thing. So is this just what happens when all these big players come in a room? That it's just... I thought there was going to be more explosion there.
Well, you know what? I'll have to say one thing. I'm not jealous of being part of that crew because it's like you never know what's coming next, who's coming for you.
Yep.
Jeez.
But you know what we do know
Yes.
is something amazing that you have to say to some people.
What we do know is here at AfterBuzz TV, we really appreciate you guys' support. We couldn't do it without you. So please continue to watch and support us, Nadine and I and the whole AfterBuzz family. We just enjoy our jobs and what we do. And like I said, we couldn't do it without you. So please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and give us a thumbs up and leave your comments. We do go on YouTube and we read your comments.
Yeah, we check them out. We give them some likes, all that.
We sure do. We appreciate it. So keep it coming.
Yeah, so thank you guys. We appreciate it. Spike Siegel says the humor in this show is something else. And you are so right, man. It is. It's just... It has a lot of drama and craziness, but then the humor is just out of this world. It's just so corny sometimes and quirky, but also perfectly made as well. What else are you guys saying in here? You said, Michael said, Spires with the swabs was hilarious. Yeah, that was also a great moment. There was a lot of comedy that happened here. So let's switch on over to Chuck now, and what Chuck was handling during this whole time. So Chuck is dealing with mobile voting. Basically, the head of the Board of Elections is deciding whether to allow blockchain technology, which is voting from mobile phones. So this is a big thing because it gives people the opportunity to vote when maybe they weren't able to get to the polls in so many ways, and access. So it gives the right and a voice to every single American, which is huge. But the other side of it is there's so many ways it could get hacked.
Oh, yeah.
There's such a big side. So those are the two sides that we're on right now. And Chuck, I love that Chuck initially goes into this meeting saying, yeah, no, we're not going to do it. As soon as he sees that Brian and Jock are on the other side of it, he's like, oh, no, I'm going to make this happen now just because the revenge is there.
Gotta get back out.
You got to get that revenge. But the thing is like, actually, for once, we see Chuck's revenge actually for good, though. Because
that's
because
a
now
good
he's
thing.
pushing towards actually helping everyone get a voice, whereas before, the other Chuck was like, no, we're not going to do it. So I kind of liked that he was using revenge in a good way this time around, right?
Yeah.
In a sense. But we see that the head guy is basically upset with Chuck because Chuck has arrested 30 of his friends from the Senate, and it's a whole domino effect. So Chuck's whole time, this whole episode, is just trying to get this bill passed, or not to get the bill passed, eventually to get that passed, but to do basically a test to actually see whether or not this could work. And we see him set up a meeting with the Native American tribe where he just completely botches a quote. He talks from a Cherokee tribe when he's not even speaking with the Cherokees. And I love how she put that into context. Like, imagine if I quoted this guy. Are you him? No. Does that relate to anything about you? No. And I'm glad that she put him in his place. But what did you think the biggest part of this whole thing was that baby that popped into the room during the meeting? Do you think it's Papa Rhoades' baby? Is that it? Is that what's happening?
Of course.
Because we see at the end that he said there's already a college account set up. And is that what that meant? I was a little confused.
You heard Chuck say to his dad when he walked out, so is that my little sister? And he's like, don't worry, Sonny. You, as far as they know, or you know,
You're my only child.
Yeah.
Yep, you're my only
How
child.
terrible. That's terrible.
So was it though? I don't know.
It was terrible.
So it is his kid, right?
Yeah.
Because he talks about the chin and everything too.
Yeah.
Like, I know that chin. So it's just, I just don't like the dad. The dad's always been so shady and always in and out of stuff.
And he's gonna be Chuck's downfall.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's exactly what it is. And basically, everyone's using everyone for whatever they need to benefit on. And any deal we see, everyone just wants a little leverage up. So this woman, the head of the tribe, she, or at least the spokesperson for this Native American tribe, wants a better casino land deal with Papa Rose in order. And if she gets that, then she will help Chuck with this whole plan and with him trying to get mobile voting to go.
Right.
And that's what happens, and it works. And they bring the baby out at the prime time so that the papa is a little distracted and just says yes to whatever is happening. So it's just kind of crazy.
Fund.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we see that Chuck actually does get this approved and actually gives and is able to set this plan into motion. Which is, we'll see where that happens and where that goes.
Then you got Jock
and
Brian scheming to make sure that it is, he told him to get some kind of corrupt blanket or...
find basically what's that corrupt thing and kind of bring that out and make that work in a sense. So it's just that tit for tat that keeps going back and forth. But this is what has been occupying Chuck this episode. So we'll see where else that leads to. But we see stuff that you kind of brought up is how Kate is very unhappy with kind of her position, because we see Kate having a conversation with her father because her father may work for a company that uses blockchain technology. So wanted some intel if this was something to kind of go with or not. And Kate surprisingly says to go with it because like Chuck will win the fight in a sense. And to actually, but Kate right now is on the opposite side of it. So what is Kate's next play going to be? Like, is she going to be the one to inevitably bring down Jock, do you think?
She's definitely going to, she's leaning towards Chuck.
Do you think she's going to return to Chuck?
She's going to definitely be an ally, and I felt that all season, that she was like winking, like letting him know, oh, I could still be your girl. It depends on how you what you do for me. But she is not happy being in that office with Brian as the head, and then he's just like a lapdog for Jock.
And that's it. And
Just
she said
doing whatever he tells him.
And she said something great to her dad. It's like, I was so stuffy in here, and getting rid of Chuck, I helped with that because for the right reasons. Chuck did do messed up stuff, and I agree with her. He did do messed up stuff. But even though he's gone, it's still stuffy in here because it's the same stuff, just different people. And I think that's why she may, I don't know, this is an early prediction, but I think she's going to be the one to actually get rid of Jock and then get back in with Chuck somehow, but it also be for good. In a sense, I think she's going to be the one to bring light to it.
She's going to tip him off about that wiretap too.
Ooh, you got into some deep prediction there. That it's a good one, ReGina. Yeah,
I think we'll see,
because that's still a thing happening. Obviously, we didn't really talk about it at all this episode. There was no wiretap calls this episode, but yeah, that'll be something.
And either way you look at it, it's kind of boring working for Brian. With Chuck, she had excitement, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And most of the time, he came out on top of whatever it was.
And then lastly, so speaking of returning to Chuck, we see Wendy possibly having a change of heart and May doing the same thing. Chuck in the beginning is cooking her breakfast and bought the specific bread that she likes, doing everything to try and win this woman back. And Wendy had an amazing line and said, "This is all either too soon or too late," which I absolutely loved. And Chuck responded by saying, or maybe it's just a moment of warmth and connection. And Wendy basically doesn't buy it and is like he should have just stopped there. He always just over talks, and she doesn't buy it. She's like, no, if these buyers want to buy the house, we're gonna buy it. They're gonna buy it.
Yeah.
And then after everything that happened this episode and how basically she was just beat down with the license, how she lost a client, that the match itself became a draw, that just nothing kind of went her way, or just in any sense. I think it kind of brought her more to needing a home. And she keeps calling this house not a home, but I think it's their home.
It's still the memories that they've made throughout the years with their kids. And
so do we think that she's made a decision with him yet? Because he overtalked again and was like, oh, does this mean now that I can sleep in your bedroom now that we're not selling the house anymore? And she's like, let's take it one step at a time.
Right.
So do we think she's going to romantically get back with him?
Not this season.
Not this season.
I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I predicted that Wendy would probably lean on Chuck more because of what happened, Axe with McPhee, but she's still dealing
with it.
Yeah.
She's still dealing with that
still
pain.
dealing with it.
But she's deciding to keep the home. And I think that's a smart decision. I think right now she needs a little bit more stability, even if her home life seems to be more stable than her work life, oddly enough.
Right.
Like, that's crazy. But you need something. And we see, and I think the moment of them chatting about it in their daughter's room made it all the more real of just like, this is where our children have grown up. This is our home. So that's what's happening on that side of things. I think we covered majority of that episode.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Let's get into some news. Woohoo!
AfterBuzz TV News.
Miss ReGina, what do you have for us today?
It is some conversation going online about Wendy being the true villain this season. So the best is yet to come. In regards to Wendy.
So there's a lot of online chatter about this?
A lot of online chatter, and Maggie Steff, who plays Wendy, said that she had heard it and that she wasn't totally buying it yet, but we'll have to wait and see, because she said that Wendy this season is really showing how capable she is of being evil and manipulative. So we shall see.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that a lot, that we've seen this dark side to Wendy, but now I think we're seeing the tunnel that leads to the light, in a sense.
And I'm wondering, God, if she's going to be that evil, what's next?
Yeah, what is next? What are we going to find?
She's already stomped on Taylor.
Yeah. So I hope we get back to the old Wendy. But yeah, it's crazy. It's good to know that maybe she has hesitation in her real life. So maybe that's giving us a hint for what's to come in this season. I don't know.
Well,
all right, that's some good news. Thank you for that. All right, let's get on over to predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
There's so much to chat about in predictions. I feel like we predicted a decent amount throughout this review right now. But what are like two predictions?
Well, I hit it on the nose last week about Taylor coming back for Wendy, but I am. It's so much going on. It's just hard to predict. So I guess if I were to predict anything, well, we know that Bobby is really coming for Taylor, but God, what would he do next?
What is the next?
What can be the next thing that...
The question we're all wondering is what is next, which is just absolutely crazy. I think, like I said, I think Kate is going to be the one to take down Jock. I think that Bobby, I think that something crazy is going to have a ceasefire, and maybe that's what the draw is leading us towards too. Is that like there will never be an actual winner, that it will just have to cease because something so terrible happens that causes it. So maybe we see that happen. Do you think there may be another actual fight, like a rematch between Dollar Bill and Maffei, or do you think that's done?
Over with.
That's done.
They need to get back to trading.
Yeah, no, seriously.
They barely got out of the ring alive. You know, they were so tired.
Oh my gosh. Well, there is so much. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you guys for being in the chat with us today. Gavin says, if you remember, Kate has political aspirations. Chuck would make a better ally. Yeah, that's a prediction there. So maybe Kate is going to go over to Chuck for ally purposes.
Good one. That was Brian.
So thank you, Gavin, Spike, Michael, for chatting with us tonight in the chat. Please, as ReGina said before, if you guys liked tonight's episode, give us a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to us, not only on YouTube, but also give us a 5-star rating on iTunes as well. You guys can check us out next week, same time, same place. You can follow me everywhere at Nadine Della.
And Instagram, guys, I know a lot of you are following me now, and I love it. So ReGina Coles at Instagram.
Yeah, girl. We will see you guys next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.